SVC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Less than 2 years ago, one couldn't even place a legal online sports bet with Hard Rock Bet in Florida. Now, it appears that one can essentially play an online slot machine. Hard Rock has soft-launched Games, a new product that uses old NASCAR races to produce slot-like games in Florida. But online casinos aren't legal in the Sunshine State. So how has the Seminole Tribe done this, and are there legal challenges on the way? Welcome back to iGaming Daily, supported by Optimove, the creator of positionless marketing and the #1 player engagement platform. I'm Charlie Horner, and today I'm joined by Jessica Welman, SBC Media's managing editor. Jess, thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
I am good. We kind of touched on this last episode with Sean, but happy to dive back in on this because I know I was ready to talk about this one because it's been dominating our traffic and conversations with everyone I'm having these days.
Yeah, it's really interesting and definitely worth more than a fleeting little flick over that we did last week with Sean. It's really interesting because listeners might remember that a couple of years ago, this was basically all we were talking about, was what's going on in Florida. But one thing I did think for sure was online slots were illegal in Florida. But apparently that's not the case anymore. What's changed?
Well, this is one of those you have to be very careful about the language because Hard Rock will tell you it's not a slot. It's a slots style game based on historical auto races. But if you look at it, it's reels and spinning and things. But as we've talked about on this podcast many a time, that is far from the first product to create a slot-like experience, but be like, slot machine? What do you mean a slot machine? No, we're a parimutuel wagering experience. No, we're the online lottery. So it's another one in that ilk of product.
So these are slot-style games based on old NASCAR races. Sounds a lot like historical horse racing. Is that sort of the idea that we've got from this?
Yes, ding, ding, ding. For those who are unfamiliar with historical horse racing, typically a slot machine is powered by a random number generator calibrated to hit certain outcomes X amount of times. In historical horse racing machines, that random number generator is replaced with data from horse races. In this instance, data from car races. And that data is randomized, and it's not like you can, if you are some sort of like NASCAR whiz kid, you could gain the slot machine or something. It's anonymized and stuff to basically power something that on the front end looks exactly the same. In fact, a lot of like suppliers and stuff work in both fields.
Have you actually seen the product itself? Because it seems to me quite interesting that Hard Rock has brought this to the market in the style of a slot machine. Obviously, we know that actual iGaming and that proper regulated market isn't there in Florida, but the offshore market is there. And if players, if they really want to play the top slot games, they can probably find them somewhere. Is this product compelling enough, interesting enough that players will engage with it compared to going to an offshore site and just playing slot games as you would in one of the regulated states?
You can go on sweeps sites in Florida and play sweeps site casino games and get that experience there. I think what you have going here is that it's in-app with your Hard Rock Bet sports betting account. So I think you're talking about a customer base that is less the motivated group that is like, oh, I know about sweepstakes because I like slots, versus a group that's like, hey, I like to gamble. I'm not really motivated enough to go and like learn about verticals or go offshore, but it turns out there's this new game in my app and I'm willing to try it. And oh, hey, this is fun. I think it's just a little bit of a different group of people that they're probably going for.
Right. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Because I often think that it's the same with sweeps, really, as well. Is that it feels like people are trying to push the boundaries as far as they can to try and replicate that regulated iCasino or iGaming market through different means. But does it stack up against the real thing? But I guess if it's a different type of customer they're going for, then that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different. I think here it's also you don't want to. The way they're rolling this out kind of tells you we're going to quietly do this first game, see how it goes, roll it out a little bit faster, because as we're going to get to, you're covered. To those listening and not watching, finger quotes are happening. But this is not one that you roll out 70 games at once and do a big grand announcement that it's live and ready to go.
Yeah, we'll do the legal side of this on the other side of the break, because that could get quite messy there. But just for those who don't know, you're in Kentucky. Kentucky is huge for historical horse racing machines, with its links to horse racing, of course. How popular are those kind of machines in Kentucky or in just that region of the United States? And do you think that Hard Rock's games product is going to be something that is picked up by a mass market?
Okay, I think we're going to have to frame this more as, so in Kentucky, yes, HHR games are very popular because we don't have casinos. We have racetracks with HHR facilities attached to them that replicate a casino experience. For example, like I am a poker person. You cannot play poker in Kentucky, so I have to drive across the river to Ohio to play. They have slot machines there, but like if that's what I wanted to play, I could just stay here in Kentucky and get the same essential experience playing an HHR machine. What's interesting about historical auto racing is if you are one of the 43 states without online casino, and this is potentially an answer to give you the opportunity to play something like this. It's kind of like prediction markets and sweeps, right? Like this is less about that. Is this product just so innovative and cool that you need to play it? I don't think that's what's leading this. Is this a solution to an access problem? Yeah, could be a very interesting solution.
And that has been one of the overwhelmingly big stories of not just this year, but probably the last few years. It's just different stakeholders trying to push those boundaries, find what works, what will stick. Can we do DFS 2.0? Can we do sweepstake casinos? Can we do prediction markets? Can we bring slots, not slots games to the market? It feels like in the absence of regulated iGaming markets, which, look, I'm not reporting on the United States as closely anymore, but I don't think it's coming down the track anytime soon. This is going to keep happening, isn't it?
But this is, I mean, even before, like, this is just the industry. There's always going to be some new thing that is, okay, how can I avoid having to deal with all of the rules and regulations? And somebody who is clever enough to read all the rules and regulations and find something that letter of the law is all right, but replicates the experience. Like, I don't think this is a problem that you can ever fully litigate away, or legalize away. It just seems like, as someone who has been in this industry going on 2 decades, there's always something. And I don't think it's it's just because we don't have access to everything all the time, because it's complicated and expensive to get into regulated gaming, you know? So there's always going to be some motivation to not. Like prediction markets, I think that's a great example of one that it's like, yeah, they could very easily just like pay the fees and get the license and whatever. But they're just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. That's a lot of work, and we're not doing it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Jess, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll go into the legal arguments for and against this.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
Welcome back to iGaming Daily. Today we're talking all about Hard Rock's new games.
Slot style auto racing experience.
Auto racing experience, yeah. I like it. It'll stick. Jess, I said at the top of the show that online casino games and the like are not quite legal in Florida. How has the Seminole Tribe got away with this? How have they managed to bring this product to market without a angry mob of lawyers barging on their door?
So keep in mind that sports betting is similarly not legal in the state of Florida, but through a compact with the state, the tribe can offer sports betting on tribal lands. And going back to our big discussion in our episode on Colorado, they use that hub and spoke argument that the servers on Florida's at Seminole casinos are where the sports bets are taking place on tribal lands. So what is in the compact that I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't notice when they first created it a couple years ago is that it does say wagering on current or past sporting events. So they threw the past in there, and I should have, I'm so mad at myself. I should have seen it and known that some genius had already thought about this, which is setting it up that if you wanted to do powering something with old stuff, you could. I mean, again, not a lawyer, but it's written in there. It's approved by the Department of Interior, and that compact has been through the legal process. And and if you remember that case, the debate was, is the compact valid? So it's I don't really know if you can even relitigate this part of it. That's another good question for a lawyer, but the entire question of this lawsuit was can Interior approve a compact of something that in their argument is taking place outside of tribal lands? And it's just I don't know what's necessarily changed that you would be able to relitigate that. That's one I will have to run by some lawyers and kind of see what they say, but I almost wonder if you can.
Yeah, it feels like we were, our stakeholders were arguing so much about the validity of the entire thing that they didn't notice that they dropped the word past in there. And that to me seems quite shrewd, quite clever.
Well, and then here's now, that's not to say there aren't some legal questions to ask here. Casino Reports is reporting that NASCAR had no idea this was happening.
Yeah, that feels a little off.
Okay, so there is a case about data that I'm trying to remember the exact name of it. There's several cases related to fantasy sports, because when fantasy sports, season-long fantasy sports first started, the leagues were you need to pay for this information. And the groups that kind of powered these fantasy groups were no, this is it's in the newspaper, it's publicly available information, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when sports betting came up, kind of part of the agreement of all of this was the league started trying to be you have to pay us integrity fees, and they lost that battle really fast. So instead, this official data agreement thing became kind of par for the course in a lot of states. So now you have Genius Sports, you have Sport Radar. Sport Radar holds the official NASCAR live data rights and the feed of live NASCAR information. But can you take old NASCAR information and create games out of it? I don't know the case law on this, but I wonder, because in HHR, that data is the tech is proprietary and the data is somewhat proprietary. If I'm not mistaken, there's like 4 or 5 companies in the world that are allowed to do HHR. So, like, if you're telling me that just anybody can go take like old car races and make slot machines out of them, that sounds like somebody would sue.
Yeah. And if they wouldn't, then it's a very low barrier to entry, right?
Like, one, I would think somebody holds a patent on the idea, and we gotta do some hunting on who owns the patent on the idea of using car races to do this. But then, yeah, like, I mean, like, imagine it. Let's like take this a different direction. We used old collegiate swimming results because similarly, there's tons and tons of data and times and races and stuff. Pretty sure the NCAA would have a bone to pick with them about it. I don't know if legally they would be able to do anything about it, but like they would certainly, you'd think they'd try. So I'm very curious to see. I think it's interesting that they picked NASCAR, a group that has been very open to the development of gaming and that sort of thing. But like the questions I have about like who owns the data and what group patented this game? Like, does Hard Rock own this game? I've got again, stupid managing editor job getting in the way of me being a snoop. I got to go find all this stuff out.
There's so many questions, and you're right to bring that up. I mean, we'd have to verify this ourselves, but if Casino report is true and that NASCAR didn't know about this, I would also question whether Sport Radar would have known about this as well. I
know we tried to speak to Sport Radar and couldn't get comment from them. But yeah, like what group is making this? That's a good question,
really interesting. Really interesting, and we should dig a bit further into that and give our listeners and readers an update on that next time.
Get ready. One of you is digging through the patent office.
Good luck, gentlemen. Now, Jess, a couple of years back, I've referenced it already on the show today. We were talking about Florida almost on a weekly basis, maybe even more frequently than that. What happened to that? To West Flagler's challenge to the Seminoles' right to host gaming in Florida? Because
you're testing my. Okay, so what I remember of this, and some of this Sean went over, the general gist, like I was saying a minute ago, is that West Flagler was saying this hub and spoke thing takes place off tribal lands. This is all over the state. This hub and spoke nonsense is crazy. And so, the state is like, nah, the legislature and DeSantis, they did this language. We all agreed. We're on board. Interior said it's fine. And the legal argument they said was that Interior can't sign off on it because this is not on tribal lands. So that was the challenge. And they won in the lower court, lost in appeals court, tried to get it to the Supreme Court, denied. Though recall, like Kavanaugh was like, I think there might be something here. And the appeals court said, if you have a problem with this, this is not a federal court issue. You need to go to state court and litigate it there because you think the state has done something they're not allowed to do. And in the state court, they failed as well. And so that's, there's nowhere else for them to kind of go on this one. Like I was saying, I don't think anything in the compact that can really be challenged in this way. Like the wording really is on like future or past sporting events, like that's in there. Maybe there's a case to make that this is beyond the scope. I mean, you kind of have to wonder, did the legislature and Ron DeSantis know this is what they had in mind? That's where you might find something interesting, but.
Indeed. But the wording seems watertight. It just, it's whether that scope is allowed to go that far. And then, of course, who owns the rights?
And then let's
who
see
owns
how
the data?
far Hard Rock pushes it, right? Like, that's the other thing. And right now it's one game that's in beta. It's not even available to everybody. So right now we'll see what happens. Like, maybe they're waiting to see if, like, DeSantis's office is like, what are you doing? Or not. Like, they're taking, like, the pinky toe and putting it in the shallowest part of the pool and seeing what's happening.
Well, we will wait and see what happens next and whether there are any legal challenges. But if listeners want to read up on what we've discussed today, we'll leave a link in the show notes to Justin Byers' piece covering this. But for now, Jess, thanks very much for taking the time to join me on the show today. And to the listeners,
I asked more questions than answered, I feel like, this time, but it's a fascinating one.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best stories always raise more questions than there are answers, and I think this is certainly one of those. But yeah, thanks to our listeners for tuning into today's episode of iGaming Daily, and join us tomorrow for another episode where you can keep up to date with all the latest global gambling news.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.